So you want to be a dungeon master?
So, you wanna be a dungeon master.
So you want to be a DM?
Name some feats, okay?
So you want to be a DM?
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're locking in. We're focusing up. We're getting all of these waterfowl in a row. That's right, gang. This week, we're talking optimization. What is it? How does it work? Is it an essential part of Dungeons and Dragons or just a possible way to play the game? Or does it actively harm the table's good times and the story that we're trying to tell? Well, let's talk about it. But first, Taylor, I know both of us are big fans of Another Crab's Treasure. You've actually beaten the game. I have played it a little bit and I love the vibes, but I'm just not. There's some games I genuinely feel like I'm very good at. And this is like one of those styles of games where I'm like, I'm actually not that good at this. Like the timing of dodging, the little things. So this game, for people who are unaware, right? Another Crab's Treasure comes out from Aggro Crab Games. It's like an indie studio. They come out with this amazing game that's inspired by like games like Dark Souls. I want to say I've heard discussion of the creators actually discussing like how it is inspired by. Yes,
it's definitely a Soulsborne style game.
Right. And so like, what do you think as dungeon masters we can learn from taking, and before you answered this question, feel free to describe a little bit more of what the game actually is for people who are unaware. But like, what do you think we can learn as dungeon masters from this incredible studio that was able to take something like Dark Souls and turn it into Another Crab's Treasure from the inspiration, the mechanic ideas and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, I picked up Another Crab's Treasure after getting off of a 200 or 300 hour run of Elden Ring. And something that about Elden Ring is I really love the mechanics. I love how the fighting style works. You know, it's very timing critical of doing the dodges and the what have yous. But the art in that game just bums me out, dude. It's so dark.
It's
so
dreary.
bleak, and it's
Yeah.
just I don't like it. And Another Crab's Treasure is almost the exact same game in that all of the fights are super timing centric. You got to memorize the boss like attack patterns and all this stuff and know where to be at any given moment in a fight. But it's so colorful and so vibrant, and like you are
It's silly almost.
and silly. You play a little hermit crab who gets his shell taken by one of those little shark little grabber things.
Yeah.
It
A
comes
lone
up,
shark.
a lone shark, and it comes up and grabs his shell and takes it away. And so the whole plot of the game is you're just a little guy trying to get his shell back. It's a gorgeous game for one, and the gameplay is very fun. And I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about my escapades last night because I picked it up after not playing it for like a year or so, and just to see if I still got the sauce, you know?
Right.
We are planning, I don't know what the timeline is of when this episode is coming out, but pretty soon we're going to be getting into kind of more video game stuff. We're going to do a So You Want to Be a DM gaming stuff. So I think for the first game that I want to do after we finish up with October is going to be Another Crab's Treasure. So I was like, let me see if I still got it. That boss, the lawbreaker boss, when you come up,
Lawbreaker.
yeah, that guy. Basically, it's like the first boss in the game, and Justin crashed out on it, and I beat it in 2 tries.
Amazing.
But I will say
died twice in a row quickly and was like, let me take a break.
Yeah. So
sometimes that's what you have to
cheat a little bit.
You gotta just take a break and come back in sometimes, you know?
I got these back buttons on
look at that.
My controller here. So my dodge and all my healing stuff is all in the back. So I still have both of my thumbs that I can do my movement
on the
and my camera
sticks.
and stuff with the sticks, and then I can do everything I need to do
That's
on the back.
huge. I used to do that with Overwatch, where I would change the button configuration
Hmm.
of specific heroes in Overwatch
Right.
so that I didn't have to remove my thumb from the joystick, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, that's when I was a
Yeah,
true
this was a
gamer, when
game
I was
trade
like,
changer. This took me from I had like 20 hours in Elden Ring and I was so pissed because I could not do anything right. And then finally, I think my controller that I was using went down and I was like, all right, I'm going out and I'm getting a controller that's got the little back buttons. And it was a game changer. I went after that point, it was 400 hours easy in Elden
that's
Ring.
amazing.
Played like modded versions. I played all kind of different stuff.
That's
Convergence
awesome.
mod for Elden Ring is a lot of fun. But yeah, so another Crab's Treasure. So we are talking about how to use those kinds of mechanics
Yeah, I mean,
in
I just think it's really fun that this studio took a concept like Elden Ring
Mhm.
or like Dark Souls and stuff, which it's not like the first studio to ever make a Soulsborne game, like a Souls-like game, you know what I mean? Like that's why we have these terms of like a rogue like. It's like a
Yeah.
Metroidvania. Like there's these
Yeah.
terms in video game culture and design where it's like
Mhm.
a game comes along, they create a certain like series of mechanics or collection of mechanics or something, right?
Right.
That fundamentally is like, oh, I like that style of game design.
Mhm.
And now you just change the theming, the characters, the vibes, the colors, all of those little things. And it feels like, even though there's similarities, it feels totally brand new,
Yeah.
you know? And so I just like that process. I just think that process is really interesting of the transition from one to the
Mhm.
other. And so yeah, the question is really like, what can we learn from that? Or I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we can pull from different genres and different games and stuff that um can help our D&D games. Like introducing some kind of a either a Metroidvania style something where
Mm.
you have your players collect a series of MacGuffins that open up pathways as you go forward.
Yeah, and focusing on the idea of returning to locations and being like,
Hmm.
"Hey, we have to go back to that first town. Remember there was that thing that we couldn't do? Now we can
Uh-huh.
do it."
Right.
And yeah, that would be a really fun idea to incorporate that into
Um,
the like
and
order of
then
events sort of.
yeah, and then another thing, if speaking specifically to the Another Crab's Treasure and like the Soulsborne style games, the hyper lethality at little cost as far as time is concerned. Another Crab's Treasure is better about this than Elden Ring is, but like generally when you are at a boss in Another Crab's Treasure, that boss is gonna kill you the first time. Like I said, it took me 2 tries to get the guy last night because the
Mm-hmm.
first time you gotta settle into that
Yeah.
rhythm of what
Like, oh,
the
that's
boss
right. He
cycle is.
dodges, then he attack or whatever it
Uh-huh.
is.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, exactly. Um, but when you die, you have the option, like you'll just respawn, especially with boss fights. It'll drop you right on your pile of stuff, like your
Mm-hmm.
souls and your shell and all that stuff. And you can just leave. You can just be like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
cool. I'm gonna go around and kill some stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a little breather. I'm gonna
Yeah,
like just clear my head sometimes because it's like,
right. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And you can just leave, and there's no cost to that. And I like that. So something about that, maybe some form of an arena or something along those lines where the fight is meant for the players to lose the first time.
Mm-hmm.
You make it
Yeah.
super hyper lethal, and then especially and just the thing about those fights is that they're highly technical
Mm-hmm.
in the Elden Ring and stuff like that. The fights themselves are highly technical in knowing when to dodge, where to be when a
Right.
certain attack is going off. And maybe you have a fight that is made for the players to, unless they are fully optimized, huh? Like we're talking
Mm.
about today. Unless they're like fully optimized or their plan of attack is fully optimized, then they're going to lose. And then you go, okay, cool. Well, sorry, gang, you lost. You wake up in your hotel room and everything, you have all your stuff. You haven't lost any money, but you know,
Here's the fight again. And
here's the fight again. Yeah.
spoilers, he's going to cast the same huge ninth level spell right off the gate like he did the
Right.
first time. The villain, I
Right.
mean, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
you could, as a DM using D&D specifically, because Souls, another Crab's Treasure, we mentioned the patterns
Yes.
that you eventually have to try and figure out. And so
Hmm.
in D&D, that pattern can look like, hey, the first 3 rounds of combat go like this.
Right.
Bad guy's going to cast this spell, then he's going to try and do this, then he's going to do this. And
Yeah.
that way, at least there's a little bit of like planning that can happen in a way of like
Right.
learning as you go, the way that
Hmm.
you do with like, you have to, like you said, like when I'm playing Hollow Knight and I'm going up against Hornet, I gotta die a couple times to be like,
Right.
damn it, that's right. She throws the spear and then it comes back like
Uh,
motherfucker. It's like I'm jumping the wrong way, like all these different things, and you gotta like really get into it. And then
sure.
hopefully by the end of the fight, you're like locked in. Everything
Hmm.
is like so smooth. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think all of that is really fun. I also think the last thing we'll say before getting into the meat of the episode, because we have some stuff to talk about, is I think the thing that comes to mind of being inspired by a game like Dark Souls and then turning it into another Crab's Treasure to me is like it feels obviously there's some mechanical changes. I'm not saying that it's like a one-to-one mechanically speaking, right? Obviously,
Hmm.
that's not the case. But it largely there's like a lot that transferred over and then it was just kind of like reskinned, like repainted with a different
Yeah.
story, color palette and all these things.
Yeah.
And that's what D&D is. We all as dungeon masters are using a certain set of rules and guidelines and mechanics, but then our campaign is the reskin. Our campaign, our settings, our homebrew, that's all the
Right.
reskin. And that's what it makes me think of is like the reason that you and I are able to create Sphinx City and make this magical modern metropolis and have so much fun with it and still use D&D is because at the end of the day Sphinx City is D&D. It's fantasy.
Hmm.
It's everything that a normal D&D campaign would have reskinned for the most part. Obviously we add tiny things like maybe we add a hacker's toolkit or like maybe we
Right.
add a an investigation check that's specifically for the internet and you have to pay for public transportation, but like little tiny things, that's not a big deal. They're small things, but that's what makes me think of.
Yeah.
But without further ado, we must get into the episode.
We simply must.
We absolutely must. Nothing can stop us except for the Patreon. Gang, have you checked out the Patreon today? It's absolutely incredible. There's so many cool things on there, gang. You got to check it out. It's free, first of all, and there's so many things on there, but you can also be a paid member. And at the $2, $5, or $10 level, not only are you supporting Taylor and I pursue this D&D and tabletop and gaming sort of careers so that we can continue to support ourselves and create more and more content, but also you get access to so many more things. So go check out the Patreon. Link is in the description. Now, back to the episode.
Do it.
Do it. Kill him. So Taylor, what is optimization?
Wow. Boy golly, that's an open-ended question. No, but optimization in the form of D&D would be picking the best way to synergize your abilities and your class so that you are really good at the things that you want to be really, really good at.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
that's
pretty
about the
much.
most
There's like,
watered down portion of that I can
yeah,
think
I
of
think the
because
only
it does.
you could get even vaguer with it and be like, it's
Uh,
it's just like making uh the mechanics as good as possible in your favor.
mhm.
Because there's like obviously the mechanics of like your class and multi-classing and making sure the stats are in the right spots and your proficiencies are lined up and yada yada yada. Having these
Mhm.
magic items because they help boost everything in this direction, whatever. And then there's also things, and we're gonna get into them, but like um there's things like how you respond to encounters. Because like you, Taylor, might have a lot of experience with video games and stuff like that. So when I, a
Hmm.
dungeon master, presents something in front of you, it would be very easy for you to optimize your response to that encounter because you have all this experience.
Mm.
And it shortchanges like the role playing of the character, potentially depending on your character. But like, yeah, there's some optimization there that's a little I don't know. The example I think of is
Yeah.
like if you're when I'm playing a D&D game, let's say we're in a dungeon, if the
Mhm.
players are like I think of optimization as like every single door they come across, they're like, "Can I check it for traps?" Okay, we're in a new chamber. Can I check for traps? Okay. And it's not a bad thing necessarily, right? I'm just saying
Right.
that is optimization. You're optimizing your abilities to check for traps. You're optimizing not setting off traps. And so it's just making anything to the best of its ability, or
Right.
trying to at least. The pursuit of making something to the best of its ability. And in the context of D&D, it
Hmm.
often means mechanics,
Yeah.
um, almost always, because it can also look like just making sure that your team composition is good. That's another way to optimize where it's like, hey,
Right.
listen, we already have 3 spellcasters. We don't need another spellcaster. Like, go ahead and go barbarian, go something like that. Or,
Right.
hey, we don't actually have any like healing. We have a druid, but they're a moon druid. They're going to be in animal form most of the time.
Hmm.
So they're not going to be able to do healing. Uh, we need a healer. And so it's like that kind of conversation obviously reeks
Yeah.
of optimization because it's like trying to make sure that the team is like perfect and you have the
Hmm.
balance and everything. Um, and so can you think of any other examples of optimization? Obviously, there's like stats and stuff. Just
Yeah, I mean, and it also kind of stacks on like even picking like a multi-class. I'm thinking about my own personal character because he is very optimized.
oh yeah,
Um, but
definitely.
picking stuff like when you're like going through your subclasses, multi-classes and stuff like that, I have the Tempest Cleric and the Storm Sorcerer. And those
Hmm.
two multi-classes come together to give you quite the wallop because
Oh yeah.
the cleric has the channel divinity ability to maximize all thunder and lightning damage. You can do that twice a day. And then with the sorcerer, you get access to spells like Witch Bolt and Thunder Wave and a bunch of other ones that shatter is another big one that I use all the freaking time that you wouldn't get as a cleric. So the two of them working together creates a very good outcome, usually in the form of 100 or
Insta
so
kills.
damage a turn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty brutal sometimes. But and we're gonna get into why that works at that table.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because like I can imagine, I think you would agree with this, that there are some tables where that character wouldn't feel as fun as it does in the home game.
Yeah.
Even though your character would still be fucking awesome, still doing 100 points of damage, but
Hmm.
they're in the home game, the way that that setting, the way that the other characters are laid out, the way that the plot, everything that Cal has become
Hmm.
fits. It all works, even
Right.
though he is optimized. Um, Whereas there could be other settings and other tables and teams or parties or whatever
Hmm.
that it wouldn't feel as good for maybe you or for the other players potentially. Um,
Yeah.
and it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just there's like
That
a
table is
inconsistency or an
right.
imbalance there. Yeah,
It,
which
you
is
know,
what we're going to talk about.
because there are stories where fighting is not necessarily the biggest thing on the planet.
Yeah,
So you would want to
for sure.
optimize for more RP stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you could be
Or
optimizing
out
the
of
wrong thing.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm optimized as hell. Oh, there's
Um,
no combat.
we're
Ooh,
not.
I'm mind
I'm.
as hell. I've mind. I've mind too
We're
close to
not.
the water. Um, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. So like how do we determine um like if optimization is good or bad? Like
Mm.
on the sliding scale of if it's good or bad.
Um, Geez. this is I'm gonna give us a shout out to our favorite adult diaper. Depends. It depends, man. It really
Yeah, it
just depends. The
does.
table, it really, I pretty much always try to optimize, but there are people who like the challenge of a non-optimal character. And if a lot of people at the table are doing that, maybe you don't freaking slam on the gas and go super hyper optimized edge lord. You know,
Mm, yeah.
it might be better or more beneficial for the table to have more fun to do something that would fit into the maybe non-optimized stuff, because there's, stories where nobody, like the chosen hero or something like that, is just plucked out of everyday life, and maybe they're not necessarily ready for adventure
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
type of
There could
deal.
be a tons
There's
of
a
different kinds of stories with different power scaling and stuff like that. But
hmm
I agree. I think it definitely depends. Shout out. And it all comes down to the context. Because it's
right.
like in a vacuum, somebody optimizing their character, it doesn't that's fine.
hmm
But then when you add in all the other things, it depends on the individual who is doing it.
Yeah.
Because some people are just bad faith actors, just like, you know what I mean? Like most of the time, I think I write this later in the outline, but like it's like my experience with optimization from like as a DM coming from other players has always been like, are you a good person and good team player and that kind of thing? Like, are you collaborative?
Right.
Then your optimization is probably fine. Like I feel more okay from it from the jump because I know you're a good player at the table
Mm-hmm.
with everybody else. You're a good listener. Those kind of things is like already making me feel way better about you optimizing. Whereas somebody comes in and they're already giving me red flag vibes of being that edge lord, not working with anybody, kind of talking over people, telling them how to play their characters, optimized, all that kind of stuff. Now my guard's up. Now I'm like ready to fight.
Right.
Dukes
Yeah.
up, catch these hands. You know what I mean? So the individuals who are doing it, obviously the table, like
hmm
what is the vibe of the table? You already mentioned the idea of like, is the whole table optimizing or are they not optimizing? How far are they optimizing? Because optimization
hmm
isn't like a yes, no, it's
Right.
a scale.
Right.
Um, then there's also the setting and obviously system is a whole other question about this, but the setting obviously matters. Are we
hmm
going full power fantasy with there being like these superheroes? Are we going Avengers or are we going like no, you guys are level 1.
hmm
You guys are meant to be not that powerful at this point of the
Yeah.
story or in this setting. Like the things
Yeah.
you're meant to be fighting are supposed to be much scarier and bigger and stronger. And so if
hmm
you're optimizing the fuck out of your character, then that could undercut the theme of your setting, which is like obviously conversations need to be had. It's all about communication. And then the
hmm
last one I said, freaking vibes, Sharknado. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying that on. I'm trying on that.
Sharknado, you're
It's
trying
my
to.
new pet name for everybody. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
Honestly,
It's a hey,
when I
that's
wrote the freaking vibes, the first word in my head, Sharknado.
mm and
That
you know what?
movie's nothing but
Sharknado
vibes.
is a vibe because, like, really and
Make
honestly,
this make sense,
it's
Taylor.
yeah. No, it is because it's that crazy over the top fucking. There's sharks in a tornado of water, and
Yeah,
everybody's getting eaten by sharks and stuff. And if that's the vibe of the table, freaking roll with it. Go that
exactly. Yes.
crazy, over the top, silly character. You know?
Yes, exactly. That actually is a great point. So when, they do Sharknado 2 and you're a
Uh-huh.
character living in the world where Sharknado 1 has already happened,
Uh-huh.
Sharknado 2 shouldn't be that surprising because you're used to that power
Right.
fantasy. You're used to the ridiculous scaling that we're doing. So that's actually well done rationalizing my dumb jokes. Um, so then can optimization be bad? And I think the for me it's like can it be bad? Yes, of course it can be bad. Most
Right.
things can be bad if it's in the wrong hands.
Mm-hmm.
or if it's done in the wrong way or something like that. Just vaguely
Yeah.
speaking, it's like, of course it can be bad. Of course it also can be very good. So it's just like talking about how optimization can be a hindrance or detriment to the table, to the story, to the time that we're all having together. I think you already mentioned this one, but to go into a tweak more detail, you
Mm-hmm.
already mentioned if only one player at the table is super keyed up on
Right.
optimization, then that could lead to conflicts,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Because that player who feels that they are hyper optimized for whatever the situation may be, like if we take the checking for traps thing, the one person who's got the insanely high investigation and perception checks and all that stuff, who's calling for all of these things, is could potentially be stepping over somebody who just has the spell detect traps,
right.
and
Yeah,
that's just, this person would like to cast this spell, but if it doesn't matter, they're just going to keep this person is going to keep asking for these trap checks and all that stuff. It kind of drowns
yeah,
out the other players.
exactly. If one player in the group has a plus
Mhm.
12 to hit and everybody else has a plus 5, so then
Mhm.
you as the DM are like, what do I do? Because
Right.
I can't make the AC too high so that it's challenging for that one player because then it's impossible for the other players.
Right.
So then, like, how do I do balancing with combat and stuff? It depending on what they're optimizing, obviously, because
Mhm.
in D&D it's a little tricky to optimize everything. Although AC is like a good fucking place to start because if you don't get hit, as Taylor will tell you, if you don't get hit, then who the fuck cares? It's like the AOE spells exist, but so it also potentially adds extra work for the DM.
Right.
You have to make everyone try and feel like main characters. You don't want the story to all revolve around Superman. You want to pull Batman into the mix,
Yeah. Yeah.
um
This is the
and it's
Justice League, baby, not
exactly, these aren't backup dancers to Jenny from the Block. I think J-Lo was a backup dancer. She also is crazy. She did that video about breakfast sandwiches and I don't know if you ever saw this. She did like a commercial or an interview where they were like, "What do you get at a bodega?" Because she's like, "Oh, I'm from New York. I'm from the streets." Jenny from the Block is like a song that she came out with in the 2000s. It's
uh
actually an amazing song. But her answer to that question was so weird. Where it was like, I forget exactly what she said, but it was like people started dissecting that. Like New Yorkers were like, New Yorkers don't get that at bodegas. Like, what are you talking about? Because New Yorkers has like that culture of like localism of like
uh-huh.
you're either from New York or you're not kind of thing. And so it's
Right.
like that idea of it's how I feel in Jersey when people say Taylor ham instead of pork roll. It's just like a regional thing. It honestly doesn't matter, but for some reason it fires me up where I'm like, no, you're wrong. Taylor ham is a brand. Pork roll is the thing. It feels crazy. It legally isn't ham. So why are we calling it?
Right.
anyway. Um, so then we have this one player who's like way optimized, right, Taylor?
Right.
How do we resolve this as DMs?
Well, we can do a couple of things. Either we can um overhandedly buff the rest of the party and make it known that, hey, this character is way stronger in
Mm-hmm.
certain situations. I'm going to balance things out and make the other players up to that level.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
I think that's a solid one. You can do that with magic items. You can do that still in character creation and just kind of like, hey, hey wizard, make your intelligence a 20. Just like bump it up, dude.
yeah,
Like I know it's a 17. Just make it a fucking 20
yep,
because I
yep, yep,
need you
yep.
guys to all have your best stat be the highest and like let's just do it.
Right,
Like
right.
there's some like hand waving you can just do plus the magic
Mhm,
items. I
mhm.
agree with the one part you said in there too of like letting them know why you're doing this
Yeah,
to the
that way,
table because
yeah.
it's like just addressing it and kind of calling it out like the elephant in the room and just being like, "Hey
Mhm.
guys, Todd over here's got a kick-ass character and you guys are scrubs." That's not how you should say it. I'm joking. But like You guys gotta lock in. You guys gotta lock in. These are rookie numbers. Pick it the fuck up. No, don't say that. That's crazy. But just let them know, hey, I'm giving you guys these
So
magic
funny.
items so that your level comes up a little bit closer to Todd's characters. That way, blah, 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 blah.
Mm,
Because at our home games, a good example, you guys swap magic items all the time,
we
which I
do.
want you to do, and it makes a ton of sense. Um,
But we are all we're all
Pretty
superheroes.
optimized.
Yeah, we're all
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's no one single superhero in the group. Having just one of us missing, as we're finding out in this current fight, is a fucking problem.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's really intense. Yeah, out of the three level 14 characters, like Sunny's character is so powerful, but every time she casts Blink, there's a part
Mhm.
of me that's like, uh-oh.
I'm in
If
I'm in
she's in the
trouble.
other plane, that sucks for Cal and Fellas,
Yeah.
because that's one less target on the field, man. Like,
Uh-huh.
I guess I have to hit the other two. So it's
Yeah.
like, ugh, every time she casts that, I'm like, ooh, it's good for her.
Right.
She stays up, you know. The fight
Hmm.
ends, and she's like, I still have 80 hit points left. And I'm like, damn, it's
I got
crazy.
down to 4.
I know it's brutal. The other thing you can do is you can exploit that person's weaknesses. So if there is the power gamer at the table, you can exploit their character's weaknesses, hit a lot of
Hmm.
AoE, but depending on the length of the campaign, that's gonna get old fast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you
like
can't
you
keep
still
beating
might need
up
to
on them.
address it
Yeah.
in a different way, but you could do it for a fight or two. That makes
Hmm.
sense. Like especially a one shot, it's easy to do. So like there's ways I think, and we've already addressed this a little bit. The most important thing is just communicate it as early as possible. Call
Hmm.
it out, be gentle about it. You can avoid a ton of headache down the road. Even if nothing changes right at the jump, at least you've brought it up. I even wrote a
Right.
little script here. Feel free to take this, gang. You guys can borrow this. It goes like this. Heads up, gang. Todd's PC, mechanically speaking, might end up way stronger because of how we've all created our characters. Now, I can help balance that a bit now or along the way, but I just wanted to be open about it because I've seen that that sort of imbalance can lead to conflict in the past. So I'm here if you want to talk, if you want to tweak your character or whatnot, and then, you know, add anything you want after that.
Right.
It ends in
Right.
an ellipses. But I just
But
think,
yeah,
yeah,
no, it is
addressing it and
very.
just being like, and you'll see the writing on the wall too. Like it happens and it's no one's fault. It just is a communication thing where you just bring it
Yeah.
up, let people know, heads up, this might happen. Even if you don't change anything at the jump, at
Mhm.
least people are aware. You've been
Yeah.
proactive. That way, if you decide to make changes later on and boost people's stats, give them magic items, what have you, at least you're like, hey, remember when I brought it up? Now it
Mhm.
is an issue. Now I'm addressing it. That way they're not like blindsided. They're like, oh, okay, you did bring this. You know what I mean? That helps so
Right.
much. Being proactive always is better than reactive.
Yeah. So I've got a hypothetical that's not on the
Oh,
outline,
please, please.
but what do you do in the opposite scenario where the whole party is optimized all to hell, and then you have that one player who is intentionally unopt? Because I've had
Hmm.
people do this of intentionally making their character non-optimal,
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah,
intentionally
yeah.
going into that I'm not the optimal build for this, and it's actually going to harm the party.
Oh,
The fact
yeah.
that
I
I've statted out like crazy.
I've thought of this,
Uh-huh.
and I do have a section on this. Uh,
Oh, okay.
I've highlighted it. So sometimes you get a player who will lean into the of min maxing. They think it's
Okay.
so funny to play a wizard that's dumb as hell and has a negative int score. And honestly, it is a little funny. But like straight up, it is a little funny. But that also means not only are you going to be constantly just sucking ass at everything you try to do, not only are you just gonna be terrible at
Uh-huh.
everything you try and do, low spell save DC, low spell attack, terrible at all the intelligence checks, your intelligence saving throws, garbage, everything, right? Even if
Hmm.
you max out strength and dex and you max in those ways, unless you multi-class, you don't get any armor proficiency. You're
Right.
using at best like a magical dagger. So like, what the fuck are we doing? You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
funny idea, but remember that min-maxing, optimization, they only work if you're doing them in tandem with everybody. If there's
Mhm.
some collaboration a little bit to offset things and that everybody's having a good time, right?
Right.
Like don't be selfish because your joke is so funny, because the bit is so funny
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah. Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of pushing people's feelings aside to be the joke, to have that jokey character. And it's also about like um it's a deficit to the other people.
Yeah.
Like D&D is essentially a team sport if you think about it.
Mhm.
I mean, if e-gaming is a sport, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
I can tell you have
I
strong
mean,
opinions about this stuff.
no. I mean, calling it a sport is a stretch. Calling
It
it a
is. I
sport
had
is a
fun with it.
stretch. But
So let's
but it is definitely that collaborative working together spirit of things.
exactly because you're on a team, right? There's no I
Mhm.
in team, so stop being a ball hog. And
Yeah.
for the nerds at home, a ball hog is kind of like a negative term for somebody who somebody who refuses to pass the ball in a game of basketball. So they're kind of being compared to like a greedy pig here, hence ball hog. And
Mm.
before we go on, basketball is this sport, right?
No,
So like
we cannot.
no, I'm
We
kidding.
cannot.
The point is share the ball. Share the ball. That's the point, right? You're also um you want to do your part, right? You're
Mm,
part of the team. You want to be good because it helps your teammates, not just because it helps you. Like it's
right.
one thing to be like, "Oh, it'll be so funny. I'll be so bad at these things." It affects the other players
Mhm.
and their characters.
Yeah.
If there was a way for it to only affect your character, maybe I'd be way more okay with it. But because it affects the other players so much, the smart wizard being shit at being a wizard, like
Uh-huh.
has negative effects on the rest of the party for
Right.
the sake of your bit, right? Like it's like, is it that funny? It's funny, but like, is it that funny? And there's also like, you can be a smart wizard and still role play as dumb. Like you can just get creative about it, right? What does
Right.
a high intelligence wizard behave like and look like if they're still quote unquote dumb? Because there's also
Yeah. I
wisdom in the
would put
game
it
and you
in.
can dump that and like
Yeah. I
do
would
some
almost
stuff.
put
They
it
have
in
no
that
street smarts. Like,
the Drax level of literal
yeah,
thinking of they don't understand what a metaphor is. They
yeah,
cannot do that.
yeah. There's so many different ways to play it. You could just play somebody who's been so sheltered their whole life that they have no world experience.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, what? Like they know mathematics, but they don't know people skills or like
Right.
they don't know slang or like culture things. You know what I mean? Like imagine being with somebody and they're like, a peanut butter and jelly. What's that? There's a small part of you that'd be like, who's this dummy who doesn't know what a PBJ is? But that could just be like, that's not where his intelligence lies.
Right.
Because you and I both know what even is intelligence, right? The
Right.
old quote that used to be attributed to Albert Einstein, but it's definitely not his. But it's like, if you ask a fish to climb a tree, you're gonna think it's a fucking idiot because the
Right.
fish can't climb a tree, dude. Like it, but
Right.
it's real good at other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if your measurement of intelligence is how good can you climb a tree, then yeah, fishes are dumb as hell. So it's like, it's all about how you're scaling
I
things. So
mean,
there's
fish are pretty dumb too, though. But
fish, fish are dumb to be fair. But you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah, yeah.
that
No,
same
it is.
concept
It
though.
is.
So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's all this other stuff to think about. There's also like in a game like D&D, I think this is important at least. Even though D&D is like the OG video game in some ways for RPGs at least in
Hmm.
my head, it's not a video game. It's a
No.
storytelling engine where the guidelines, mechanics that involve chance, rules, and most importantly, collaboration. So, like, I think sometimes optimization, when taken too far, sucks the fun out of telling the story.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like, it can be done, right? There's entire series of anime that do this kind of where you have like One Punch Man and you have like Free Run, where you
right.
have an OP fucking character who will not get touched by anybody, at least for the foreseeable future.
Right.
And yet those shows are compelling Granted, they're animes, they're shows, they're scripted, they're written. They have like they have a main character and side characters. This is D and
Mhm.
D. It's different,
Yeah.
you know. So like, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I like if I'm a DM, there's something that I think after a certain amount of time, I would start to feel almost discouraged and kind of like, why am I even here? Everything I throw at them is just getting absolutely demolished. It's being gamified. It's like
Mhm.
constantly, I don't know. I don't know if you
Breaking the
agree with that. That's how
gamification.
I would
Yeah,
feel. It's like,
breaking the gamification of it all is tough.
mm-hmm,
Because especially in, you know, like the stereotypical nerdy circles, there's obviously going to be some good RPers in there, but also there is a level of translation from mind to what you're doing in the game of, okay, well, I have a list of moves. I would like to use this one, please. Go. And like it's very easy to fall into that, especially in combat stuff of being okay, what's the most optimal thing that I can do right here? Okay, I'm just gonna all right, I cast shatter and that's my turn. Like
mm-hmm,
it's I know it happens a lot in our games too, but I feel like part of it is we've already done the descriptions a million times. So we kind of just go past
I don't need
that.
to ask what your shatter looks like every
Right.
time for 5 years. Yeah,
Right.
no, I get that.
Right, exactly. But, starting out at least in the sense of breaking that gamification because I don't see our combats as a video game of like Baldur's Gate where I move here
Mm-hmm.
and then stand and doing nothing and then this person moves here or whatever. Like it's a picture going on in my head of the battlefield. And
Yeah.
so um I was going somewhere with this. Breaking gamification, easy. It's hard to do, but
Mm-hmm.
the best way to
Because
do
it
it
is a
is
game.
right,
At the end, like it is a game, but it's also the storytelling part of it too. So it's like
right.
I think depending on the story, there's still some context and nuance here. It's not like
Mhm.
a blanket yes or no, but like sometimes having the characters fail at zero things can lead
Is
to not having a fun story because
yeah,
it's like, what kind of story is like that? Where like even the Avengers get their fucking ass kicked so many times,
yeah.
right? And so it's like, that still is going to happen. Even One Punch Man does get punched a couple times and he
Uh
has blood on him and stuff. Like he still does get hit. Um,
right.
yeah, so it's like there's so many different ways to think about it. I think it also can, again, context is everything, but it can sometimes feel a little metagamey in a way that I don't enjoy.
Hmm.
Not in like the I have 11 hit points. I'm kind of fine with that. But in the way of like, hey Rogue, there's only 2 hours left in the session, which means the boss fight is probably going to happen tonight. So go ahead and make sure you check that door for traps because the DM's definitely going to put it. Like if a player was saying that,
Yeah.
I would freak out. I would be like, what are we doing here? Are you just trying
Right.
to beat me in this game? Like congratulations, you've won the encounter, but you're playing D&D wrong. It feels
Right. Yeah.
like I've never heard anybody say I beat Curse of Strahd. They say I finished Curse of Strahd. And while
Uh-huh.
people do say I finished Elden Ring or I finished this game or whatever, they
Uh-huh.
often will say I beat Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And you don't say that about a D&D game. So there are those similarities, but there's also some stark differences between the two. So I
Right.
just think that's important. But let's talk about really quickly before we um, wrap things up pretty soon. Let's talk about good optimization.
Okay.
Let's talk about good optimization. I'm going to kick us off and then I want you to take this second point. So, yes, it can be good. Optimization can be great. It's all about how and when it's done. What I tend to notice is, and I've already said this, is like if you're a decent person, if you're good at playing with others, if you're considerate, you're a good listener, I think it'll be fine. I feel way better about it without knowing the intricacies of how you're optimizing. But
Yeah.
what's an example you think maybe of like a time that optimization can be good?
Do you want me to read what's on the outline?
Please read
Yeah,
what's on the
okay.
outline, Taylor. Thank you so
Yep.
much.
So possibly like a veteran hero, somebody who's been out and adventuring and doing hero things for a while, and his job is to, help younglings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, I mean,
Anakin, what are you doing here? Order 66. What is that? Anakin, why is your lightsaber red? No, the younglings. No, Anakin, no! Anyway, as soon as I wrote the word younglings, I couldn't resist.
yeah,
I'm so sorry about
yeah,
that,
no,
gang.
that's cool. That's cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think a good example would be, designating yourself as the party healer. Like that's because that's kind of how Cal started was
Mm-hmm.
I took a look at the party comp and hey, what slot is missing? We don't have a healer. Bang, I'm going cleric.
Yeah.
And that it could be just that simple. And then you optimize for that spot that your team needs. Or it could be the team needs a face type character. Cool. I'm going to go something charisma based, whether it be paladin, sorcerer, warlock, oh, we
Bard.
need bard, I guess. No. um, but yeah, I mean, it really could just be that simple of optimizing your character for those niche things that slots that have not been filled yet. You
Yeah.
know, you
Helping
need
your
that.
friends
Yes.
is a really good way to start. Like if you're like Taylor and you can't resist a good min max, then
Hmm.
I would suggest going support because then you
Absolutely.
could genuinely go into it and it wouldn't have as much of a ripple effect in a negative way, at least. At least I don't think so. Um, but I think also like there's settings, there are adventures and themes where like we want you to or not metagame, excuse me. We want you to optimize.
Right.
Like if we're playing the power fantasy, by the way, Taylor, what is a power fantasy? Can you describe that for us?
A power fantasy is what you would do if you had all the power in the world. Like what is your dream? Like what does that look like to you? Because it looks
Mm-hmm.
different to everybody. Some
100%.
people's power some people's power fantasy is stomping on little people. Like that's their whole power trip.
Woof. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some of them are in office.
Yeah,
Blah.
a little bit. But but then
It stinks here.
a lot of people a lot of people that I've talked to, a lot of my friends, and this is why we are friends, is their power fantasy is I want to be able to help my friends. I want to be as strong as I can be so that we all succeed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're all on the come up. Hell yes. Yeah. And it's also just like, I want to do cool shit. I
Hmm.
watch Jujutsu Kaisen. I want to be Gojo. Sometimes it's
Right.
as simple as that, right? Where you're just
Yeah.
like, I genuinely just want power in a cool, dope way. But
Right.
even Gojo is like, yeah, he's very flighty and chaotic and stuff, but he's still like a good guy. He's still doing well,
Right.
whether or not he's doing things for the right reasons is actually maybe an interesting discussion, but we don't have time for that. Because he does seem a little bit like Loki is doing it for himself. And like
Right.
just because he's like, aha, look how powerful I am. Look what I can do. But anyway, so like um, and we've already mentioned it, but you also want your character to be good at things. So a certain
Yeah.
amount of optimization is actually good because, hey, guess what? Optimization is a spectrum. That's right. We've gone full woke. It's spectrums, baby. Everything is a spectrum, baby. And I love it. Um, and then the last thing I just want to bring up is that, like, this entire episode, we've been talking about optimization in regards to a system like D&D,
Mm.
where
Would also be applicable to
optimization is
like
full of.
Pathfinder and stuff like that. Yeah.
Pathfinder would be another good example. There's games
Very.
out there where optimization is huge. It's like part of the
Mm.
game. It's the power fantasy is there. That's what the system
Hmm.
is kind of low key built for, and all those things. But there are a lot of systems out there, some of which we've played, that don't focus on optimization. It would actually be a little challenging to try and fully go hard optimization, like, so for
Yeah.
example, like kids on bikes, it's possible because you could like number one, they have a mechanic for like the powered character, which is like an
Hmm.
NPC you all share. It would be like in Stranger Things, it would be like 11.
Right.
Like it's like a character that the DM doesn't really control. The players actually all collectively control them. And so
Mm-hmm.
adding that into the game adds a level of success and optimization, although there's some drawbacks because that's the way the system is built. But like
Mm-hmm.
you almost in Kids on Bikes, you almost don't want to succeed every single roll because then you never get
Yeah.
adversity tokens.
Right. And then your adversity tokens are how you use some of the strongest stuff in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You want to fail
you want to fail
sometimes.
every
So
now
like
and then. Yeah.
I've been playing a game that we're going to be producing sometime either very late this year, early next year, we'll see. But it's currently in production phase, and I had a player who had 9 adversity tokens, and I was like, "You have 9?" And she was like, "Yeah. Why do you think I keep asking for charm checks when it's my D4?" And I was like, "Oh fuck." Like she's literally like farming adversity tokens, which is crazy.
That's
But like every time she
hilarious.
asks for them, it genuinely feels right, which is why I didn't
Mhm.
catch on to it.
Right.
Because it's like it's not like she's just out of fucking nowhere asking for these
Right.
checks. It's like it
Right.
genuinely makes sense for her character to try something, you know?
Mhm.
But yeah,
That's
it
so
was very,
funny.
very fun. And then there's games like Call of Cthulhu, Morkborg. There's a couple of others that I've heard of where like you're almost like meant to fail and struggle, and that's part of the system. It's like
Right.
in Call of Cthulhu, your character is just sucks at most things, and that's kind of the point though, right? Because
Right.
if Superman goes up against a zombie, not a fucking big deal. But if like a normal person goes up against a
Mhm.
zombie, you're like, ooh, that's scary. And if you're
Yeah.
just a guy looking for his missing wife who's been missing for 3 years, but you eventually come to find out that she's has this weird secret black op job where she smuggles kids who have superpowers, and then she gets trapped inside of a house. I mean, I'm digressing a little bit, but like that scenario, you're terrified of zombies because you're running out of ammo. You don't even know what's going on. They're growing out of the fucking walls. There's no law of conservation of mass going on here. It makes no sense. Jack's dead. He's alive. He's dead. He's alive. He's dead. Who knows what's going on? So there's like sometimes, but imagine if Ethan had fucking powers. You
Right.
know, like that game isn't as scary when you're like, oh, you can summon insects, so can I. And it's like, oh,
Right.
not that
Yeah. Yeah.
scary. You know, it
Yeah.
changes the game
Mhm.
fundamentally.
Mhm.
So then you would have to like Elden Ring it, where you scale the bad guys up a ton. Where now Jack can
Mhm.
do even more things. He dies 7 times in the game now. You know, like it would
Yeah.
change things. So optimization overall, I say yay to it. It's my
Yeah.
final verdict. I do
I'm
think there are times where it's a nay, but that it's case by case. It's not the kind of thing.
just be a
Hey,
team player.
fucking diapers, dude. From now on, that should just be our saying, dude. Diapers, and it just means depends. It just depends. Diapers, dude. It's one of those diapers things, man. It just depends, you know. But you know what doesn't depend? Big Milk, because Big Milk's here to stay. Thank you so much,
No,
Big
it's
Milk,
not.
for sponsoring
Well,
this
that's all we can
episode.
get into this time. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM, or you can ask us a question at soyouwannabeadm at gmail.com. If you liked the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon, the Twitch, and that merch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
See.
And now, I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Numuffins, may Palor's light shine upon you. Marsavies, have you watered your flesh prison lately? And then there's Elijah, Molly, Tappy, and Linguini. Gang, we appreciate and love you. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Want to Be a DM.